Open your mind.
Hey out there, this is Buzz with TheSurvivalBuzz. So I talked about in some videos how this whole Israel and Hamas thing, the whole war thing going on right now, is just another mechanism to create division among the American people and, well, across the world. And how the U.S. government is basically funding both sides of this war. They basically fund both sides of every war, it seems like. But it's, like I said, just another mechanism to create division among people so we can't stand together and fight the corruption within the system. And you have the idiotic groups like I was talking about, the Queers for Palestine popping up, which is idiotic and makes absolutely no sense, because anybody in their right mind would know that, you know, Palestinians have a quite different outlook on their beliefs and the way these people are leading their lives. And they would probably, if they had their way, would kill these people. But it goes a lot deeper than that, and we've seen a lot of this back in, I think it was 2020, when all this was taking place with the BLM and all the protests and violence and things, you know, peaceful protests going on and violence in the streets and things. And it was all funded by George Soros. You know, magically these pallets of bricks show up. There's all this violence and rage going on in the streets, and it was all funded. All these actors were paid for by George Soros. So I ran across an article today off Zero Hedge. It's not a very long article. I'm going to read it real quick, and then a couple snippets of a few other articles, and kind of tie it all in together to kind of go with what I'm talking about here. But anyways, this is from Zero Hedge from today. It says Soros-Backed Pro-Palestine group halts traffic on San Fran Bay Bridge, and that happened today, Thursday morning. So Thursday morning is another eventful day at the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference in downtown San Francisco, where pro-Palestine protesters shut down the Bay Bridge on Thursday morning, caused traffic chaos in the metro area. And then it goes on to say there's a genocide happening in Gaza, and POTUS is hosting cocktail parties in San Francisco, A-Rock posted on social media platform X. A-Rock continued, Bay Area has shut down the Bay Bridge to demand ceasefire now for more money, no more money for genocide. And data from TomTom shows traffic is a nightmare around the bridge. If you could see this, it's insane. And according to the Washington Free Beacon, A-Rock is a fiscally sponsored project of the George Soros funded Tide Center. So funded by George Soros again. So it makes you wonder, are we going to start seeing pallets of bricks show up? Or people are going to start getting more violent? I mean, we're already starting to see on some of these college campuses, the violence is getting a little more hectic. Things aren't as peaceful as they used to be. And as this war and everything progresses, I'm sure it's only going to get worse, especially if you have people like George Soros funding these projects. And I'm going to go ahead and read AROC, which is, I basically looked up their website. It's Arab Resource and Organizing Center is what it stands for. And I'm not going to read this whole mission statement they have on their website, but I am going to read one part that stuck out to me that I found interesting and kind of goes along with what I'm talking about. How you have two different groups. Seems like they're on the same side, but they don't stand for the same thing. So it says toward the end of their mission statement, they put it at the very end, it says, while we understand the feelings of despair, confusion, and fear that may be gripping our families, friends, and community, we take this moment as an invitation to recommit ourselves to the revolutionary roots of Palestine liberation, where the struggle to abolish Zionism and fascism in our homeland, sound familiar, is one and the same with the international struggle for economic and political democracy, for education and healthcare for all, for right relations to land, for social justice, gender justice, and climate justice, shaped in the interest of working people. Seems like the same narrative we got going on here, right? Although, like I said, I think most Palestinians, if they had their way, would probably throw those people off a building like they have before. But yet you have all these groups standing together, And basically because they're all funded by George Soros. So I'm going to go to this next article, and it talks about Tides, which is funded by Soros. And it says Tides' involvement in the anti-Israeli movement extends beyond its physical sponsorship activities. The Trans Justice Funding Program, which Tides lists as one of its grant-making partners, accused Israel of genocide. The Tides Foundation also appears to process donations for Black Lives Matter Grassroots, an organization that said Hamas terrorist acts must not be condemned, but understood as a desperate act of self-defense, basically defending themselves from Israel. And, you know, they're all just social justice warriors, regardless of which side of the fence you stand on, whether you're with Israel or Palestine. You have to admit there's a lot of crazy stuff going on here, how we're combining gay rights with Palestinian rights, which have nothing to do with each other. But you have all these multi-billionaires that are funding all this stuff, and it seems like they're doing it merely just for chaos. They're funding, you know, the Palestinians, they're funding queers, they're funding, you know, BLM, all these groups that cause all the disruption and stuff everywhere. All these groups that are social justice warriors that just want a piece of the pie. They've lumped them all into the same group, even though they have nothing to do with each other. So I guess time will only tell if things are going to get crazier. Like I've said before, I can only see it getting crazier as the war progresses. Where we're going with all this, I don't know. But it definitely seems like we're headed toward World War III. I mean, we're pretty much already all there. It's just a proxy war at this point. It's a Cold War. We don't have boots on the ground, or at least not that I'm aware of. And I don't stand for any of that, man. I don't stand for war in general. I'm not on Israel's side. I'm not on Palestine's side. But at some point, you have to decide. You have to decide what's more important, these other countries and their rights or our own. It seems like on a daily basis where our rights are just getting stomped all over here in America, yet we're worried about what everybody else is doing. And now we're funding terrorism. We have all these far left groups joining the terrorism, it seems like, rooting these people on. And it seems like there's no end in sight. So the only advice I can say to you is keep prepping back and stay locked and loaded. God bless y'all, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.